Referrals are the lifeblood of any successful private practice, and the longer you've been in practice, the greater volume of referrals you should be getting. But that doesn't happen on its own. And my guest today has built a referral base that feeds her practice, and she's going to share her ideas on how she did it. I'm Carl White, principal at Mark Advisory Group, which is a healthcare marketing agency, and I'm also the host of Practice Care. The mission for both is the same, and that's to help private practice owners stay private. Not only is that usually what they want, but care is better when the provider owns the practice because that's when they're going to have the most freedom to make the clinical decisions that they think are best. It's just different when somebody else owns the practice. Usually, eventually, their agenda starts to creep in, and it's just more for the provider to deal with and to think about. Sometimes choices are limited. You all know the story. So let's just keep it simple and keep it private. Today, my guest is Dr. Ashley Maltz. Ashley is an integrative medicine physician and owner of West Holistic Medicine in Austin, Texas. After she earned a medical degree and master's in public health from University of Texas Medical Branch in Galveston, she completed a combined internal and preventive medicine residency at the same school. She then pursued and completed a 2-year integrative medicine fellowship at Stamford Hospital in Stamford, Connecticut. During her fellowship, she underwent clinical training in medical acupuncture, trigger point injections, meditation, spirituality, clinical nutrition, mind-body therapies, botanicals, and herbs, as well as an intensive 1,000-hour online curriculum by the University of Arizona Integrative Medicine Program, founded by Dr. Andrew Weil. During this time, as if she wasn't busy enough already, she also completed a 300-hour medical acupuncture course through the State University of New York, Downstate. My God, you are smart about this stuff. It's good to have you on Practice Care.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Let's just say I've been in school, or I spent half of my life in school.
For much more than your fair
Much
share.
more.
Yes, yes. So before we get into the topic of a referral base, which is shockingly easy to talk about, but not so easy to do successfully, I want to start where I start with every guest, which is help us get to know you a bit better. We know your education. Fill out the rest of us. Help us get to know you.
A chunk of it.
Yeah, right. So you have time to do other things.
The learning continues forever. So I'm a doc here in Austin, Texas, and I'm born and raised Texan, but grew up in a very cosmopolitan, in Houston, which is actually the 4th largest city in the States. No horseback riding for me, unfortunately. I think that would be amazing.
That's the stereotype, right?
Right. Horseback riding, cowboys,
right.
And all that.
Shooting stuff. Yeah.
Which actually we're learning a lot of people are moving more towards because of the benefits of nature and animals and being, out of the concrete jungle. So, I'm a lifelong learner. I'm, here to take on what the world is giving me at every moment, and it seems to be constantly changing.
Yes. Yes. Excellent. Okay. So the topic is, how do you build a good referral base? And just like I said, easy to say, less easy to do. For you, what does a good referral base look like?
I think it's really just consistent. It's really consistency. That's all that means. It doesn't mean, you're going to always have every ideal patient you've ever wanted, but it does mean that people know about you. They've heard your name. They feel like they trust you. It's a relationship in general with the larger community.
Right.
So, consistency is the end result of building those relationships.
Right.
Good referral basis would be having those relationships intact so that it is a consistent referral.
Right. And for you, what does like the composition of the referral base for your practice look like broad strokes?
Yeah, so it varies from practitioners, which is what I value the most, because it feels really nice when someone else refers you as an MD or anyone as a practitioner. That means that they trust you with their patient. Friends, family, all of that. Other patients can be great referral sources. I have, quite a few who they're like, oh yeah, we're friends with such and such. And you're like, oh yeah, thank you. Not that you acknowledge and tell them, and you don't even acknowledge that they're your patient, but you just say, internally, thank you.
Yes. I don't know who you're talking about. Wink, wink.
Yeah. And all that.
Right.
And then, online is a great referral source as well. So making, I've used the online communities that I've built to really leverage that referral basis.
Okay.
And also people find me on Google, like they find our practice through
Sure.
our SEO, and that is one of our actually a very strong referral source as well.
Right. Can you talk a bit more about the online segment that you were talking about? I think we all intuitively grasp people referring others through word of mouth, but
Yeah.
tell me more about the online side that you've built
Yeah.
up.
So back in 2017, was still just starting out here in Austin and had moved away for at least 12 years. So really didn't know that
Yeah.
many. But I'm a networker. That's what I do. This is what I love people. I love their stories. I love learning about them. And I just love to connect. So I go out and I meet new people. Like it used to be an every week type thing. I also had less on my plate back then
Yeah.
and just moved to a new city and, was getting started again. Um, and so in 2017, I found that my schedule was a little dry, we could say. It was June, or exactly, it was June of 2017. And so I decided to put a bunch of these people that I had met already and loved and was like, oh, yay, they're so amazing and they're doing great work in a Facebook group together.
Ah,
And there were about 80 people that I started with, which meant I was doing a lot of networking.
yeah.
And it eventually, that group just bloomed. It went organically, it just grew tremendously, exponentially. And, I was stoking the fires, don't get me wrong, it took a lot
Sure.
of, but, it was a very much a fun process and, getting to know new people. We eventually ended up meeting up, and then I had monthly meetups for a few years. So from that group, now there are 2,800 plus people in the Facebook group.
Wow. So they've just been inviting others, connecting.
Mhm.
Do you have any sort of screening criteria you use, or is all comers or
Screening criteria are you must be a health and wellness professional of some
okay?
sort. You do not have to be a licensed professional. So it could include energy workers, yoga teachers,
Okay.
whatever.
Yeah.
And so it ranges the gamut.
Hmm.
Even in the way I envisioned it was to have like corporate involved, like we need healthy spaces, that it's part of our built environment. It's healthy, we do need marketing people that help us get the word out. Like, there's a lot that goes into private practice, but it's more for the private practice,
Yeah.
solopreneur kind of
Hmm.
thing, to break down the barriers and share resources. That's kind of what I saw it as. Um, and, it has worked as a referral basis. Oh, they also must live in the general Austin Hill
Okay.
Country area,
Hmm.
um, or be a friend of mine invited into it from outside so
Yes.
that
Owner's prerogative. You have that.
they could see
Yeah.
what it's all about. And I did at one point spend a lot of time in Houston during this time. So I, have tried to build it there too, and it's a little bit different, but so I'm not there full time. So yeah, those are, and they cannot be like marketing, they cannot market their MLMs or
Right.
multiple marketing. Like at first I did have a membership for a while, and like paid membership, and only the members could advertise in the group or promote their
So
anything.
if they paid for that membership level, they get the benefit of, I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. But I did away with all of that during the pandemic because it was just got messy. And
Mm,
I just wanted to simplify my life. So
gotcha.
now it's a kind of whoever wants to promote their services is fine. But also, if it's too much, we're gonna
Hmm.
nip
Case
it
by
in the bud.
case. So it's
Yeah.
still going on.
Oh yeah. It's
It's
a
still
very
going on.
active group. We don't meet regularly anymore. Also, because my life kind of blew up. I took over this practice in
Hmm.
2021. And
Okay.
so like my sole focus is on the practice mostly.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I still get referrals from all the connections that I made through the group. So it's not just the group, obviously. So
Right.
you can create a group and not do anything with it, not
Hmm.
be stagnant, but you
Hmm.
can also leverage those connections and really like, hey, let's
Yeah.
meet, let's go out and walk on the lake and let's go do all these things because
Hmm.
that's where the connections really get made.
It's true. It's
Yeah.
true. So I want to go back to the beginning and just ask you how you built it. And maybe let's zero in on the in-person. How you, because you
Mhm.
said you spent a lot of time doing it. Um, and
Sorry.
just that's okay. And just to say, hey there, buddy. Just to say, for those who are listening to audio, I actually just picked up a dog. It was quite cute. Um,
Yeah.
I think there's a fair number of startups who don't get that, who say, I got to get out there. People need to know I'm here. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know if they think it's going to happen on its own or they just don't think about it. But um, I've said to a number of people, your marketing budget is the combination of the money you have and the time you have. And if you're short on one, you have to compensate with the other. You just do. And they have to equal enough, whatever that is.
Yeah.
You clearly said, well, I'm going to get out there and have people know me. And what I'm even more curious about is for your referral basis, because you're on the holistic, the not so immediately easy to understand side of the world of healthcare. You had an extra hurdle to go over to get people to spend time with you and say, yes, I think you're trying
Yeah.
for some, for some. If
In,
you're
in
you're a
Austin, that's
pediatrician,
all right.
everybody knows what you do, whether you're good at it or
Yeah,
not,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
separate,
Yeah.
but there's a few more,
Right.
synapses
Excellent.
that have to fire. Exactly. So how did you build it? Just walk us through kind of the mechanics of it. Because I think a lot of people out there, they want to say the result. Well, we get a lot of referrals today.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen overnight. That's why we're
No,
talking today.
definitely does not happen overnight.
Yeah.
I think for me, it depends on whether or not you're established or not. Are you established in an area where people know you? That's number
Hmm.
one. If
Hmm.
you already are, great. Leverage those relationships.
Hmm.
They may change over time, but leverage them.
Hmm.
If you are starting afresh and anew, like I was, you get to seek out like-minded people.
Hmm.
So I got connected right away thanks to a friend of mine who had already moved back here or moved here um, to a group of integrative medic physicians.
Mm.
And that gave me the like, okay, I feel seen, I feel heard. I know people in my community now, we're going through a lot of the same stuff. We can share stories. Uh,
Hmm.
we used to meet monthly as well. That
Okay.
has also stopped. But so that was the first kind of like grounding touch point, I think. And
Okay.
then there, I guess I'm a pretty outgoing person. I've moved around a lot, so I know how to build community.
Hmm.
Um, when I moved to the East Coast, I was in different areas. I was in DC for a while. I was in New Haven. I was also in Connecticut, in Stamford, and then to Albuquerque after that for
Mm.
2 years. I sought out, we have this wonderful thing called the internet, and I sought out interests that I like. So connecting for young adults, connecting for whatever it was. Like I would go to yoga classes and I would
Hmm.
strike up a conversation. It does take an element of extroversion. Like if you're an introvert, this might be really difficult for you.
Hmm. I am an introvert, so I'm listening to this going, oof.
Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
random conversation. I stare at somebody and I go, I know I'm making this hard, but I don't know what to say.
Maybe that's in your head because
Oh, I'm
I
sure it is.
I
I'm
find
very active inside. I don't know.
quite easy to talk to,
Yeah.
actually.
Well,
Um,
this is very prepared.
yeah. Well, and everybody's different. So
Yeah.
you could start a meetup that's like introverts club or something. Like there's nothing you don't,
It's a funny thought, like would anybody talk? I don't
and that's
know.
okay. If no one talks, just be like, hey, we're gonna sit in the same
Right.
corner.
That's very comfortable.
And there's a silent book club here in Austin. You
Really?
can a silent book club. You can go and read, and that's all you do. You read. And someone validated that yesterday in a conversation. They said, I was at my silent book club. Like we get together and we just read from the same book. It was on a call. I can't remember who I was talking with, but they discussed the book. Oh, it's one of my business coaches. So his team at work,
hmm
they sit and they read and they go through a book together. That's connecting. You get to hear
Yeah.
people's points of view.
Yeah.
You see where they are. So whatever it is, it could be a gym class. It could be, uh, you know, geek trivia, whatever the nerdy trivia
hmm
nights, whatever you like to do.
But it sounds like what you're
Dog.
saying is start with people with a common interest, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Start there.
Yeah. So
Okay.
like for me, it's very much wellness
hmm
professionals. It's
hmm
all I learn about.
hmm
I'm very into spiritual realms and learning more about spirituality. So that I constantly, and it's constantly changing. Like initially it was all integrative holistic medicine and functional medicine. Now it's moving into more of the spiritual realms, like I mentioned. So
Yeah.
that's where my interests are and business, uh, personal development, I would say,
Okay.
which, so I'm building communities around that. And
hmm
it happens organically,
hmm
in that realm. But yes, there is effort. Sometimes you have to leave the house and go out and
hmm
act and like have a conversation
Yeah.
and not text and just have a conversation and then follow up
Yeah.
the next thing. Um,
Yeah.
and then what I found in my group, what I really enjoyed doing was I already knew what some of these people were doing. So I just introduced them to the group. Like I was like, hey, where are my nutritionists? Where are my physical therapists? Introduce yourselves. Like I already had intuition on how
Yeah.
to, it just brought everyone to like get active and engaged. And then it just grew
hmm
from
hmm
it.
Talk
So
about the follow-up. You said that big deal, but you kind of glossed over it. So I want to pull you back there.
yeah, I mean, I think that's so when you meet someone and you're excited, and I always think of myself as like a puppy. I'm like, "Oh, to, to meet people that are
Yeah.
like-minded and fun and enjoy, kind of on the same wavelength.
hmm
Um, to develop a relationship, it takes time. So you
hmm
get to call them and text them or email them, whatever it is, and say,
hmm
hey, I really enjoyed our conversation. Do you want to go for a walk or, get
hmm
our kids together or
hmm
whatever it is. Like
hmm
there's all kinds of our dogs, our significant others. We could all go hang out, whatever it
Right.
is. Let's go to this concert. Let's go to out to dinner. Whatever it is,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, let's read a book together,
Right. Wow, that
you
sounds
know,
good.
and that's just where relationships start, like
hmm
friendships,
Right.
business partnerships. It doesn't have to be so rigid. It doesn't have to be
hmm
fun. You could,
hmm
I've traveled with people that I didn't know, and I'm like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Or no, I don't want to work with that person ever again. I don't, you
Yeah.
learn as you go.
Yeah. And for all you introverts out there, I'll just speak for me. Consistency is the key. However you choose to do it, Ashley's just described some way she wants to do it. And the thing that I tell myself, even if it's something new, it still happens. I just say, Carl, you'll be glad you did it when it's done.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know, you need a bigger network. You just do. You can
Yeah.
never have one large enough. The quality we're going to talk about next, but whatever.
Yeah.
Um, that gets me. I'll be glad I did it, but I'm driving
Yeah.
home or
Be proud of
whatever,
yourself,
you know?
especially if you're an introvert. Like celebrate
Yeah.
that you went to a networking event or
And you
a
met somebody and that was the point and it seemed fruitful, however you screen those. Yes, you've got to
yeah.
do it though. You just do
Yeah.
because sitting in your office, nobody knows you.
Right. The
And
other
those
thing,
who do forget you,
yeah.
or there's the chance, right?
Yeah.
So it never ends.
The other thing I would offer is that you could make, if it's like physicians, you can go and I have a friend who started her own practice here, more allopathic, but she went and sat in the doctor's lounges in
hmm
the hospitals and like sat there with paraphernalia of her practice and like, hey,
Nice.
I'm gonna just hang out and schmooze a little.
Wear you
Uh,
down. You're going to talk to me eventually.
no, you don't go after the people who don't want to, like, if you don't,
No, I know, but those you
like
screen them quick.
that's
Yeah.
start the easy with the nice, friendly people. That's
Hmm.
always. And people, I will say, people are generally really nice here in Austin,
Hmm.
in Texas in general. So there's eye contact, a smile. I know the Northeast is not as friendly.
Yeah, New
There's,
York nice is different than Midwest nice. That's the way I describe it.
yeah, I
A
mean,
little edgier. You get more done, but it's a little edgier. Yeah.
yeah. So, just know your audience. But,
Hmm.
um, I created a community in Stamford, Connecticut. It was
Hmm.
based on completely different things, but
Hmm.
adult thing, and I was involved heavily. So,
Yeah.
there's ways to find the people you like.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't always get it right off the bat.
No, I mean, I would text my wife. I'm like, well, let's see how many frogs I kiss. And that was just at this event. And it just is what it is. It's sort of the process of elimination and you're learning as you go.
Absolutely.
Um, one of my favorite examples, it was a guest I had, it's probably about a year and a half ago, one of our first ones. He moved to, I forget where, I want to say he was a GI doctor in that world. And he decided he needed to meet referral sources. Like nobody comes to him off the street though. So he had dinner once a week with took him a couple of years with every referral source he identified. And this is what he did.
Yeah. I
And
mean, that's an expensive way to
well,
do
it
it, but
is, it's time and money. It's true. But if
right.
you hang with somebody over dinner, you get the connection's either there or it's not, you're going to know. And if it is, it's
Exactly.
great. And if it's not, okay, we know.
Like dating. It's really like dating.
It's like dating. Yes.
It's for your practice.
Yes. That's a really good way to think of it. So what a great segue. The next question is, what did you learn about how to build a referral base successfully? I mean, call it what
Yeah.
it is. It's sort of dating. There's successes and not. I'm curious. So what have you learned? Like, when you think about that, like the big, you
Ugh.
know,
What I've learned is that people want to connect
hmm,
and they want trust and they want they want to know that their person's going to be held. It's really important. And
what do
I
you mean by
always
that?
that we're not gonna mm, give the patient a runaround, or take them down wild goose
Hmm.
chases are going to be harmful for them. And that's something that's in my particular realm where
Hmm.
I feel like I excel.
Hmm.
Every now and then you go down a hole and you're like, oh no, maybe this is right or maybe not. I don't
Hmm.
know.
Hmm.
But I am pretty transparent, pretty honest. I find that I have a lot of integrity and I don't want to sell anyone else out either.
Hmm.
So don't ever talk badly about other practitioners. Like that's not helpful. So
Yeah.
just steer your people in the direction that you think they should go, you
Yeah.
know? Um,
It's true. Like as the recipient of a referral, so if you just referred somebody to me, you treat everybody carefully, but with that one a little extra because a little bit of your reputation is walking along with that referral. And I want to treat that well. You want to treat anyone well, right? But um, and
right.
so for you to say, I'm going to refer to Carl, there's a little bit of trust that has to have been built. Otherwise, why would you? Right.
Right.
So yeah.
And then, yeah, like not burning bridges is
Hmm.
important. Um,
Hmm.
Also, uh, really, I like to send a follow-up note, like a consult note. Like we learned that in medicine. Like you send the consult note, but it gets lost a lot now. It's not
Mm,
as well as it used to be. I mean, we used to pick up the phone back in the day,
right.
call people and say, I did this with your patient. I find that's really helpful.
Hmm.
Like it's turned out that a lot of the referral sources have become very good friends of mine.
Mm,
And just send them a quick text and say, hey, I saw, I keep the name, I saw your patient
hmm.
and I'm sending over a consult note or
Yeah.
even, have you thought about this or would you consider that? Or,
Hmm.
I'll send it all in a consult note, but I just want to give you the heads up.
Hmm.
Because then they don't, my old mentor used to use the phrase, then we have egg on our face kind of all the time. I don't know if
Hmm.
this phrase, but then
Familiar with it. Yeah.
nobody has egg on their face. Like
Hmm.
everyone's up to date. There's no surprises. There's no
Hmm.
shocks. It's just transparent. And
Yeah.
that's how I roll. I can't, I can't speak for other people. And
Yeah.
not everyone, and it doesn't happen every single time. I'm not a perfectionist and I'm get busy and, we do
Hmm.
the best we can, but that is my
Yeah.
aim for, you know.
If you were to start all over again with everything that you know, is there anything you would do differently in the context of building your network? Anything you wouldn't have done or
Uh, I would maybe consider taking out a loan to help with marketing in the beginning, but I also am still paying off my med school loans, and
Mhm.
I've lived kind of a low, how do you say it? We call it a resident lifestyle. Like I'm still living that. Like,
Mhm. You're not
so,
living beyond your means. That's
right. But I would say for people who want like to go faster,
Mhm.
that is something I would recommend because this
Okay.
was a really slow build and slow burn. I was also working other jobs part-time
Yeah.
so it just depends what you want. If you want the fast lane, do it, take out the loans, get the staff, do the overhead,
Mhm.
don't, then you can learn from me and do it more organically and slowly. And it's just
Yeah.
different beats.
Yeah.
I did not, I was already burnt out from academics and a fast-paced life. And I was just
With your
kind of,
12,000 hours of I wonder
yeah,
why. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, what I do is very complex. It's not easy medicine, and
Mhm.
it requires a lot of my energy.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, learning boundaries is really important.
Yeah.
Boundaries with work, boundaries with humans. It's great work. So looking back, yeah, I would maybe have done that, and then also wish I was further along on my more energetic spiritual path. But that happens when it happens.
Right. Right. Okay.
The community,
Um,
I mean, the people that I've met and people still know me as like a connector, and it's 8 years later, or maybe
mhm.
not like 7 years later, and I'm still like, oh yeah, Ashley knows everyone. I walked into a workshop the other day. I knew literally every single
If
person.
you had to guess how large your network is, just like in the area where you are, what would you guess that number is all in? Like for the
Ooh,
business, not like friends and.
business. Well, the business friendships bleed into.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, I really don't know. 1,000?
Wow.
Maybe less. 800. I really.
So it's a good number though. I
It's a
mean,
good number. Like I've
yeah.
been here a long time and long enough.
Hmm.
Now, I will say a lot of people have moved from Austin. So
Fair enough.
there are a lot of new people moving here every day. It's like
Hmm.
people. So, I don't know, maybe 500 to 1,000, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Um, that I could be totally off. And that partially I have at least 1,000 patients. So, you know, just through the years that
Hmm.
it's really funny. In my neighborhood, whenever I go walk, I see at least one former patient. I have four that have lived in this neighborhood.
There you go.
Four.
Yeah.
So Austin is a unique, I will say it's a unique city. We
Okay.
don't, it's yeah, anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. Makes for
Well,
some interesting combos, obviously.
I'll bet.
We just talk about our dogs because
Right. Right.
that's what's happening
Right.
and yeah.
Yeah.
So
Right. Um, it's been a really good conversation. There's so many more questions I could ask, but we're here on the bite-sized size of advice. So there's a couple of wrap-up questions I ask every guest. The first one is there anything you think I should have asked you, but just didn't think to ask you? And if you don't have one, I have one.
I don't. I mean, you asked some really good questions that I haven't even thought about.
I want to ask you about we'll call them professional referrals, so other providers. How did you break that down? How did you, um, like easy example, pediatricians, OBGYNs make great referrals for all the obvious reasons, right? For you, when you think about other providers who, could refer to you, how did you sort that out for you? Because there's two levels, right? One is professionally, this person might be a good referral, this profession, this subset of healthcare, whereas that one might not be. And then
Yeah.
within the subsets that are targets, Some are good, some are not, for whatever reason. So how do you break that down?
I work in such a niche market, an area of expertise that the people I refer to, like I refer to integrative psychiatrists
Okay.
versus just your regular, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of them don't take insurance. That's
Mm-hmm.
one thing. Or they have shown to me that they have knowledge about they're integrative or holistic medicine friendly. So they're
Yeah.
not tell my patients to like, this stuff is crazy, don't do this. You're wasting
Mm-hmm.
your money, you're wasting your time. That becomes obvious. So you
Yeah.
avoid those people,
Mm-hmm.
and we all kind of cross refer. So
Mm-hmm.
when I need I send a lot of women for pelvic floor physical therapy, not just regular physical therapy,
Mm-hmm.
because they've got a lot of gynecological and urological issues.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it kind of comes back and forth. They see, oh, well, who sent you and what's going on and
Mm-hmm.
what that's so cool. Thanks. I'm gonna use that referral sometimes if there's
Mm-hmm.
something I need.
Yeah.
I always experiment on myself. So I was just at the chiropractor this morning and have a reflexology appointment next week, and I get massages and those people I leave
Mm.
cards at their places because that's
Simple.
their target, their patients or clients are my target audience.
Yeah.
So you got to think kind of in that realm.
Yeah.
And I realize what I do is a little bit different, but if I was a pediatric, there used to be a hematologist in town who opened a cash practice here.
Really?
If I was a hematologist, yeah, direct primary care kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
or direct
Yeah.
specialty.
Direct. Yeah. Right.
If I were her, I would go to all the oncology, no, well, actually, I would go to the primary care. I would go
Yeah.
to the primary care docs and be like, hey, look, I can get your patients in faster.
Mm-hmm.
I, yeah, it might cost them more, but it's like a concierge
Yeah.
service.
Yeah.
You just get to think outside the box a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of fun to think
It's like
that
a
way.
puzzle. It's like puzzle, new pieces show up. Yeah. Totally get it. Yeah.
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 So
Cool. And then the other wrap-up question I ask is, so let's imagine the context is we've caught a listener's attention and they're listening to you and they're saying, I need to start this. They just don't know where to start sometimes. They get enthusiastic but stuck. So any simple thing they could do to get unstuck and get going?
go to a networking meeting.
Mm,
Just walk in. Force yourself to go and have one conversation with
there
someone
you
new.
go.
That's it. The ball gets rolling. I see it happen all around me. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't even go anymore, but I see all the connections happening. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm so impressed, especially for people who are introverted and shy
Mm-hmm.
and, small talk. I get
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
You're overcoming a lot and be proud of yourself. Give yourself like a kudos and a back pat and go, it's a skill. It can be a skill.
Yeah. Just start building the
Learn it.
muscle, right? Yeah.
Right. So don't get overwhelmed with, oh my God, all the people, all the noise. Like, what am I going to do? Just find one person, smile, make eye contact, and just talk about nothing. Like, talk about the weather, talk about
Mm-hmm.
family, or ask them about theirs. Just ask
Mm-hmm.
people questions. What do you do? What do you like? What do you like to do for fun? It's like dating.
Yeah.
That's
It
it.
really is. It really is. So I think the first time I went, I even said this, I even said to the person, it's my first time doing any one of these.
Yeah.
And there's a good icebreaker.
Yeah.
People are really
Full
nice because they've all been there. Everybody's been
Oh,
there, you know.
trust me, a lot of the people there are like totally weirded out and freaked out and not wanting to be there. So find those people and be like, oh my God, isn't this super awkward? Like we're
Right.
all kind of
The
standing
nervous
around.
soup of humanity all in one room.
Yeah. Be vulnerable, be yourself.
Yeah.
Nobody wants like fake, I'm perfect and I'm everything. Nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Just be
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. I also love your idea of find the friendlies. It took me a few years to do the marketing agency, right? It took me a few years to realize I should go hang out with more marketing people. I viewed it wrong. I viewed it as competition and do I really have time? I was wrong. Some are, yes, there's like in every crowd, there's some bad apples, but for the most part, um, there's much more positive than negative.
Yeah.
And we all get each other.
Right.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
Like if you work for yourself and if you have any craving of shop talk at all, the only place
yes,
you're going to have that is with people who do what you do.
exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And
I
so,
get it on your level. And
yeah,
also like I stopped trying to convince people of my value.
yeah, yes,
Like
never works.
it's I don't go to the grumpy doctors that have no interest in healing outside of
Hmm.
their small scope and limited,
Hmm.
experience. Great, happy that they're doing what they do. I'm sure they have wonderful experiences and their patients heal and do well. That's not my mark. That's not who I talk to. I don't
Hmm.
even engage. I don't even try.
Yeah.
Focus on the easy, like the low-hanging fruit, the people that are interested and intrigued and wanting
Yeah,
to
there's so
learn.
many. Yeah, it's true.
In my
I learned the same thing. I'm not going to be the person to convince somebody for the need of ongoing marketing
right.
ever. It just
Yeah.
dead end. So yes, find the friendlies.
Yeah.
Cool.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming on and thank you for talking about this topic. It's a lot of like, I'll say nuts and bolts, but that's not to diminish it. It's to say it's actually procedural. It's just you got to get out and do it.
Yeah.
It's got to be a regular thing.
You can't fake this type of thing. Like this
You,
is you just got to do it. You can ruminate it about it, but it's not just gonna like happen if you don't move your body out of the
yeah.
house. There are online communities you can find,
Hmm.
that is a but get involved and
Yeah.
just put out there.
Just
It's
practice. No, and here's the other thing. Let's say you think you stunk it up last night. I promise you, nobody who you stunk it up with is going to remember
right.
at all. They're not going to talk about you. And they moved on with their lives. So yes, cool. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming on. Um, you gave contact information for this, so I'm going to put that in the show notes for your episode. If anybody wants to reach out, they'll be
Yeah.
able to do so. But thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Two quick points before we wrap up. First, if you're someone like Ashley who runs a private practice and you think you've figured out something on the business side of private practice that your peers would benefit from, or if you're someone like us who serves private practices and you've got some experience you want to share, either way, we'd like you to come on Practice Care and tell the world about it. In the show notes for Ashley's episode and every episode, there's a link, a couple of clicks. Please tell us what's on your mind so we can get you scheduled as soon as possible. And finally, we're on every major player, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, you name it. We're easy to find. Just search Practice Care, one word, and subscribe because we have a new episode every week. And that's the easiest way to stay up to date. Thanks very much. And until next time.